the Bay Area, part two. All right, so I mentioned I was able to get a job with Runner's World magazine in early 1985, around February 1985, and for about 2 weeks I was commuting from Albany to Mountain View. Quite a long commute after doing my morning run, of course, and then driving over the Bay Bridge and out to Mountain View. And so I had to get up extra early, and then I was getting home extra late. Finally, I found a neat little apartment, and I say little apartment. I think it was maybe 300 square feet, literally, in Mountain View, only about a mile and a half, 2 miles from Runner's World headquarters. I still remember it was on Mariposa Street, Butterfly, and I was only 1 block from a little convenience store that made fresh homemade tamales every single day, four for $1. So you can imagine I was eating a lot of tamales back in 1985. So my job with Runner's World, the position was in the marketing department, and essentially I would call races of various lengths, road races, and we would offer them prizes to give away along with other sponsors. Like I would contact Nike or Adidas or Puma, etc., and ask them if they would contribute prizes to give away to these races in exchange for their mailing list. Now, magazines thrive on mailing lists. It's all part of the circulation department, and we were able to score many races with this particular offer. I mean, hundreds of races. It was really a wonderful program. And I worked in this program in the Mountain View office for several months. And then a fellow named Michael Perlis from Rodale Press came from Pennsylvania to Mountain View, since Rodale Press was interested in buying Runner's World magazine. And that particular sale did take place. Several positions, not all, several positions at Runner's World were considered to be key, and these particular people that held these positions were asked to move to Emmaus, Pennsylvania. Now, that was a little bit of culture shock. Most of the people at Runner's World were Californians or Australians, Derek Clayton, or transplanted Texans/Oregonians, and Pennsylvania seemed a totally different world, and it was. They actually flew us out to check out the facilities, and I have to admit, I was impressed. The Rodale Press campus is incredible, totally incredible. They're very health conscious. Of course, they also publish Bicycling Magazine and Prevention Magazine. They had a health food cafeteria on the campus. They also had a house that served as a lunchtime restaurant catering to the healthy individual needs of the different employees, both vegetarian, vegan, and meat eating. So it was actually a very impressive health conscious community, and I was sold. I mean, I loved Northern California. I'd only been there for, about 10 months at that particular time, and didn't really want to leave after leaving beautiful Eugene, Oregon, and now I have to leave the Bay Area, but there again, I was really impressed, and so I was settled. I was going to move with Runner's World to Pennsylvania. So that was Runner's World in Pennsylvania, in California. During my time in Mountain View, I was able to train quite a bit with my friend I mentioned before, Sil Pascal. We would often meet at lunchtime. My Runner's World lunchtime, I would drive to Palo Alto, and we would run on the Stanford campus, staying mostly on the grass if possible, trying to give our legs a break from the constant running on the pavement. And we had so many great conversations. It was incredible. I also remember Easter of 1985. I wonder if Sil remembers this, but I met Sil at his house early in the morning, sunrise, and we did a long run on these beautiful mountain trails. I have no idea what they were, where they were, but it was gorgeous, and we saw the sunrise, and that was just a really memorable run in the hills of the Bay Area. And have to thank Sil for often having me at his house, and his wife Mary, and yeah, good times in Northern California. So I actually had plenty of time to train, because there again, I lived only about 2 miles from Runner's World, so I would do my 10 miles, sometimes more in the morning, and then another 5 to 7 miles at lunchtime, or occasionally I would wait until after work and run after work as well. So the training was not an issue. Runner's World, of course, was a running magazine, so they catered to runners. And yes, I worked with Bob Wisnia and Amby Burfoot, and I mentioned Derek Clayton, and we had quite a crew there at Runner's World. Bob Anderson was the owner, the publisher of Runner's World, and he's the one who started the magazine. And I didn't know Bob nearly as well as I knew Derek, since he was my direct boss, but Bob Anderson, a really kind, generous man, and very nice to his employees. So, what races did I run? I'm pretty sure the springtime was, the early spring was when I ran Devil Mountain 10K. Correct me if I'm wrong, Randy Cafaro and those other Bay Area people that might be watching, but at that particular Devil Mountain 10K, and I ran a good race. I ran my typical 32, 33 low, and I met Brian Maxwell. And I knew who Brian Maxwell was from his running exploits, and I also knew that he was trying to launch a nutritional supplement company, Power Bar. And so Brian would actually go to events and give samples of Power Bar to athletes and have them test the samples and give him feedback. And some of them were really, really good. Some of them didn't taste so good, but I gave my honest feedback, and I was really impressed. And so, yes, I knew the original movers and shakers, Brian and his wife, behind Power Bar. Super nice guy. Another runner that died tragically in his probably early mid-40s. He had stopped competing in running, was doing a lot of mountain biking for fitness and health, and had sold Runner's World for several $1 million, but there again died tragically young. All right, anything else about the Bay Area? Yeah, Rich McCandless and I would train together occasionally. Rich was a really good runner from, oh my gosh, I can't remember the little Bay Area town he was from, but Rich and I both trained and signed up for Grandma's Marathon in 1985. I actually had an incredible race at Grandma's. It wasn't surprising because my training had been going very well, and I ran 2 hours, 26 minutes, and 4 seconds. And it's amazing because in the photograph, the finish line photograph that I have somewhere, I may post it later, I finished literally 1 second ahead of one of the Hanson brothers, the Brooks Hanson. I don't know if it was Keith or Kevin, but 1 second ahead of them. And they were actually pretty decent runners, so I was pretty pleased to run my 2:26. It was one of several sub 2:30s I had run since leaving Houston and moving to Eugene, then to the Bay Area. So Grandma's, that was probably my best performance while I was in the Bay Area. I still miss the Bay Area. I mentioned running on Mount Tam, the trails on Mount Tam, and meeting such wonderful people as John Marino, who won the New Jersey Waterfront Marathon the year before the Olympic trials were held there, running with Bill Donikowski, and of course meeting Sil and all my Nike buddies. And it was hard to leave Northern California, but the move to Pennsylvania was totally funded by Rodale Press. They flew us out to begin working, and they shipped everything, including our furniture, our cars, the works, to Emmaus. And I'll talk about Emmaus and my other years with Runner's World in my next episode, but shout out to the Bay Area. I still go back there when I can, and I still run in the Marin Headlands. I haven't seen Berkeley since I left. I'm pretty sure the next time I go to the San Francisco Bay Area, I'm going to hit up my old neighborhood, Berkeley, Albany, etc. Cheers.